Well, good afternoon and welcome to San Angelo Live. I'm Yantis Green. We're at the political desk again. It is the Christmas season, so Merry Christmas. We are talking to candidates for local office, and one of the turning out to be one of the most highly contested races is that for county judge in the March primary, the Republican primary here in Tom Green County. With me today is a familiar face, Joe Hyde. Joe Hyde is running for Tom Green County Judge. He is also the founder and publisher of San Angelo Live. Welcome, Joe.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Don't be too mean to me, Yantis.
Well,
Anyway.
welcome to your own house.
Yeah.
Glad you're here. A lot of people know Joe Hyde, particularly because of San Angelo Live, and you've worked hard to build that into the success that it is today, and we appreciate that because that keeps us in the know and employed, and you have moved on to the political arena, so you're reintroducing yourself as more than just the publisher of San Angelo Live. Who is Joe Hyde? And we'll talk about your background, particularly your military background. But let's talk military education, family. Who's Joe Hyde?
Well, first of all, when you talk about the San Angelo Live thing, I mean, there's different personas that I've learned that are required between being a media personality and running for office. And the biggest one, and you know this too, and you probably told me this, and I totally ignored you on it, but. But the biggest one is I had no empathy for anyone running for your office when I was reporting news, none.
Right. Yep.
And so when you throw your hat in the ring, it's like jumping off a cliff. Yep. And all of a sudden the judgment comes and everyone's criticizing you and they're calling you up saying so-and-so has a sign on this street corner. Where's your sign? You know, it can make you go crazy.
Yep.
But I enjoy it once I get into the movie. I enjoy campaigning. I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy being able to articulate, you know, some of the things that I do or that I believe in and what I want to do for the county. But who is Joe Hyde? I started San Angelo Live back in the 2000s. We had a short stint with a print publication.
Okay.
And it failed. And it failed because I killed it. You know, we had the financial crisis hit us and stuff like that. But John Vasquez and I had worked on that project together. And coming into 2012, we were getting tired of being paid for people to hate us. We were doing a bunch of web development work all over the country. People would just call us all hours of the night, you know, complaining and stuff. So I said, what if we built something once and we sold it many times? And so John and I had a discussion about bringing San Angelo Live back to life. I wanted to do Texas country music.
Okay.
John wanted to do San Angelo Live because that's what John knew.
Right.
And he was really into the community and that kind of stuff. And not that I wasn't. It was just that, you know, Texas Country Live sounded more sexy. But when John created this logo, I don't know if you with the
one behind you.
Yeah, one behind me. That was kind of like the deciding factor. We're going to go, and we're going to go deep into San Angelo. We're going to get in the trenches. We're going to find out what advertisers want. We're going to figure out how to engage audience. We're going to figure out how to engage people around products, you know, sell new cars, all that kind of stuff. And we thought we could learn more about the marketing and digital advertising business doing it San Angelo Live way as opposed to going with the music way.
Okay.
And so anyway, when we started this thing, we had three major corporations against us. And, you know, when you're running scared, you know, you have to kind of bow up, you got to throw your chest out, and you got to look like you're not scared. But the whole time I was scared because I had 3 kids I had to put through college, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, we fought. I mean, it was a nuclear war. For us to establish ourselves. At first, the Standard Times, they had a really good staff back in 2013, and they were working really hard against us. And then we had to figure out a way around that.
Right.
And, you know, the TV stations didn't take us serious. But here's one thing that happened that is transferable to this campaign. When I worked at the Dallas Morning News, I had a mentor, and he was a VP there, and he has another friend who owned the Odessa American.
Okay.
And so this guy, you know, talked to newspaper circles, and he talked to the Scripps people, you know, the executives at Scripps, and he asked them, what are you going to do about that Joe Hyde in San Angelo? It looks like he's gaining some momentum. And so we don't worry about Joe Hyde. The reason is because he'll find out soon enough that you can't make enough money with an online-only publication. You can't sell enough advertising. It will not work for him, and he'll quit. And when I heard that, John and I went into double overdrive.
Yeah.
And that was the same thing with this campaign. You're going to run for county judge, really? I said, yeah, I think I'll run for county judge. And they said, well, you're not going to win. I said, why? He says, because no one likes you. I said, you like me? Yeah, but my friend doesn't like me. Then I go to the friend and I say, hey, I'm running for county judge. Really? That's a good idea. But you can't win. Why is that? Because my friend over there doesn't like you. I just talked to him. He likes me too. So you have this confirmation bias thing that goes on. And, I've been through it before. And so hopefully I have enough time. This is a short sprint, man. It's like March 1st. I hope I have enough time to convince enough of everyone out there. Where's the camera? Right there? I can't keep up with the cameras in here. I hope I have enough time to convince people that we need strong leadership. We need innovative leadership in our county. I mean, we can put anyone there. All my opponents are, they're qualified to be there.
Yeah.
But what will they do with it?
Right.
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 And the big thing that I see with the county judge position is that you really are the last line of defense between all this crazy stuff coming out of Austin, or mostly Washington, D.C. right now. I mean, Austin's they're pretty settled. I mean, as long as we can keep the Republicans in control of the state house and the governorship, that's good. But I got to warn you about something. Beto's going to raise a lot of money.
Yep.
He's going to build a gigantic organization for the Democrats in this state. And over the next 4 years, what's going to happen to the state legislature? Watch that. I think Abbott will probably, or whoever the Republican nominee is, but it's probably going to be Abbott. I'm being a pundit now, but I think he'll win handedly. But it will be a battle, just like Cruz went through a battle. The difference is Abbott has higher likability than Ted Cruz. So I think he won't get as close, but it'll still be threatening. So anyway, when you think about that, who do you want in that county judge seat saying no to mask mandates and saying no to vaccine mandates and saying no to closing down businesses? You need someone who's taken arrows like me. I've taken a lot of arrows.
That's right. And prior to this, we can talk about Texas A&M University,
Sure.
And we can talk about the Air Force.
All right, you want to talk about that?
Let's go there. We want. You don't have to be a lawyer to be a county judge.
Right.
That's one of two offices in the state of Texas.
Well, here's an interesting thing about being a lawyer to be a county judge. They don't want lawyers to be county judge.
That's right. They sure don't.
But if you look at history, we had the last attorney that was a county judge here in San Angelo was a Democrat named Bill Moore.
Yep.
And when Mike Brown took over for Bill Moore back in the 90s, whenever that was, many years ago, Moore had given everyone a pay raise mid-fiscal year, and Brown inherited an empty bank account and had to go to the bank and borrow a whole lot of money to make payroll.
Just to make payroll. That's correct.
Not a burn against attorneys, but just because you're an attorney doesn't mean you're going to be a good county judge. But
that's right. But you do have a degree.
Yes. So I went to. So here's the short. I went to Katy High School in Katy, Texas. Grew up in the fastest growing corridor in Texas, which was probably the fastest growing corridor anywhere in the late 70s, early 80s. Then of course everyone at that time, A&M was kind of like what ASU is today. Most people that lived around there went to A&M. So I wanted to fly airplanes. I wanted to be an astronaut. And also be an aerospace engineer. You had to be an aerospace engineer to do that. And so I enrolled in aerospace engineering with everyone else. I think everyone in that whole school as a freshman is an aerospace engineer. And this is right after The Right Stuff and Officer and a Gentleman. Right. Those movies are really, so anyway, I decided within a week in Aero 101 that I did not want to do that. And then the next semester, calculus basically convinced me I better get out of here if I want to stay at Texas A&M. So I went to architecture, the School of Architecture, and majored in building construction. Now it's construction science, and I've never built a building.
Okay.
But it taught me a lot about project management, those kinds of things. While at A&M, that's where I met my wife.
Okay.
We met at one of those. It wasn't a frat party because back then we didn't have fraternities. Fraternities weren't that big at A&M. We did have them, but it was at a party. We met, and she gave me her home phone number, and I had to call her home phone number and talk to her dad to ask her out. But that's how I met my wife, and we've been married for, 30 years, something like 31 years. We have 3 kids. All 3 kids are Aggies. My oldest, Shelby, she actually works for the Ag Extension Service, which is part of the Texas A&M system.
The university.
And then my son was Kevin Sumlin's video guy So he worked for 12th Man Production while he was a student there. He got a degree in sport management. And then my youngest is Reagan. She's a senior, and she's in allied health. I think that's the major she's in.
Okay.
And she just got through taking physics. And the funny thing is, I have to call up all my buddies to get physics help for her. So anyway, that's so she's very proud. I think she got through physics with a B. I think so, maybe an A.
All right.
But that's good news. And so she'll be graduating next semester.
Okay.
And then I'll be free and clear. No more bills from Texas A&M.
Oh, wow.
So.
And after A&M, then you went into the Air Force.
I did. When I was a senior at A&M, I actually started a business with a whole bunch of other people. It became what's known today as CC Creations, but I sold T-shirts at air shows.
Okay.
And I did that for a year while I was waiting for my pilot training slot or whatever to open up, which takes about a year. When you graduated, you could either go on casual status as a first or second lieutenant somewhere and work as a secretary. I didn't want to do that. Or you just wait. And so I waited and drove all around the country selling T-shirts at air shows.
Oh, wow.
It was the coolest thing ever. And I learned a lot about how to make money in business and how to control expenses and things like that. So that was my first, I guess, entrepreneur moment. And once you're bitten by that bug, you want to keep doing it, right?
Right.
But anyway, I went to pilot training up in Vance Air Force Base, Oklahoma. Almost washed out in T-37s. I just could not figure out how to do the spins correctly. I kept swapping the rudders, and but anyway, I made it through with a lot of prayer and a lot of studying. I got through and got to T-38s, did pretty good, and so I got to go. I didn't qualify to go fly a fighter, but I could go fly a bomber. So I went and said I'll take the B-52. Ended up going to Guam.
Okay.
And while in Guam, we were on a kind of like cutting edge of things, kind of like a fighter squadron that flew bombers. And we had operational missions all the time. We'd be loaded up with Mark 82s or M117s ready to go bomb someone about every month. So there was a lot of that going on. At the time, Strategic Air Command was trying to prove that bombers could get in without fighter escorts anywhere.
Okay.
So they wanted someone to bomb. But it finally happened during Desert Storm or Desert Shield. And I got deployed over there, did the Desert Storm thing. And then came back and they said, we're gonna draw down all the B-52s to just 40 airframes. So all you brand new aircraft commanders you'll have no future. So you got to go find another assignment. So they kind of threw us out in the briar patch, and I said, please don't send me to Laughlin with the T-38. And so they gave that to me. And then I flew at Laughlin for 4 years. I was Mother's Flight Commander. If anyone's from the 87th there, and flew a lot in nachos. And that ended up being a really good assignment because that's where I get another entrepreneur bug. I founded the internet service provider there
In Del Rio.
and
that's where Laughlin is.
that's where Laughlin and Del Rio. Yeah, and that was successful. I sold it twice. Moved here primarily because we needed better schools. I had 3 kids. Wanted better schools, and I'll tell you what, there's no better place for public schools in San Angelo, Texas. I mean, we effectively have voucher system. I mean, if you don't like Cristobal, you can put your kid into San Angelo ISD. If you don't like Grape Creek, I guess you could probably go to Wall. You basically apply, so you can go pretty much anywhere. And of course, we have a charter school, TLCA.
Yeah. So
we have the best system for education anywhere in this area. It's a great recruiting tool, I think, for businesses. But anyway, that's in a nutshell. I got up here and went through lots of iterations of being an entrepreneur after I got out of the Air Force. I stayed in for a full 20 years, although the last 6 years I was a reservist at Laughlin flying T-38s.
Okay.
So and part of that time I was living here. So.
And you live here, raised your kids here in the Cristobal School District.
Right. I have one daughter. My youngest daughter actually went to Central.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And
school choice.
You live in Dove Creek.
Right.
On a county maintained road.
Right.
In Precinct 4.
It's maintained by Bill Ford.
Maintained by Bill Ford. Okay. So that's a lot about Joe Hyde that people probably don't know. And,
right.
and it's good to share that information as often as you can. Now let's talk about the county judge position. Each county in Texas, all 254 of them, have a county judge.
Right.
And the judge is more than just like a mayor would be or a school board president would be. It's a statutory office, which basically the legislature created county judges, to be the CEO, to run the county, and there are judicial responsibilities as well as the administrative responsibilities of the county judge, and sometimes it can be like herding cats. But what do you see the county judge, the job there being, and what are the challenges facing Greene County?
Well, before I decided to do this, I went and sat with the current judge, Steve Floyd, for a very long meeting, and talked about what he does every day, talked about the responsibilities, talked a lot about the budget, talked a lot about how to deal with the personalities and things like that. And I walked out and said, I don't know if I want to do this. Because
I know.
it's a really tough job, because you can make what you want to out of it, but all of it is persuasion. It's all talking people into doing things. It's basically it's like flying a sortie. You got to set a mission. You got to set objectives. You got to get people to buy into it. I mean, you talk about this all the time in your other interviews. There's 27 elected officials.
That's right.
That are looking at the county judge. And of course, our county's under 225,000 people, so the county judge is the budget guy.
Right.
Right. And so they're coming to your office. They're wanting their budget increased, and they're elected officials.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, you see at the city, you have an elected police chief, and you got the elected city council.
Right.
And the police chief has to come to city council, primarily the mayor, and beg for money. Right.
Yep.
Beg for raises not beg. I'm sure Frank Carter doesn't beg, but ask. Ask for raises, ask for more equipment, ask for more cars, ask for more gas.
Right.
We're out of gas. We need to fill up our gas tanks. But you have the same kind of thing going on. And I think if you set forth missions and priorities, and you get people to buy in, primarily your commissioners, then you can get a lot done with that. And we're sitting here as candidates, and there's no way I can go in there and find out every little nook and cranny of the county.
That's right.
But it looks like, as an organization, as an institution, it's something really cool. And I'd love to be able to apply some of my leadership skills to it and do something with it. The other thing is, this is not the 1990s anymore. San Angelo is so used to hiring or voting for the nicest guy.
Yeah.
And they say, Joe's not nice. Well, I am nice. When you say I'm a nice guy, I'm a nice
You
guy.
are a nice guy.
I'm a nice guy. Everyone, I'm a nice guy. But they want to say I'm not a nice guy because I'm an entrepreneur. I try to get things done. They say you always work, Lone Ranger kind of thing. But that's not the way I've grown up. I mean, you fly on a crew airplane and you make your radar navigator mad. Guess what? The next thing you know, you're getting violated by Houston Center because you're not on flight plan. There's things that people can do to you throughout life that teach you. Even though I'm a dominant type personality, that you have to do things. I mean, even in this business here,
Right.
If I don't allow people to have their own latitude and just say, hey, we have to have this mission accomplished, let's do it, and that's what we do every day here,
Yeah.
then if you don't buy into it, then I'm not going to be successful. And another thing about being successful as a leader is your job as a leader is to make sure the people around you are helping you get your stuff done.
Okay.
You praise them in public. You let people know what's going on like that. And their job is to make you look good. And you say, in return, just make me look good. Help
Yeah.
me out.
Yeah.
And that works in any organization I've been in. And so that's the way I'd run it. That's how I view leadership. As far as what the county can do, there's like a lot of issues. I mean, I just learned, down at Cristobal. Are you familiar with what's going on in the water department in Cristobal?
I'm not.
Well, they apparently need a whole lot of money.
Yeah, they've always needed a lot of money. They've never had much money.
Never had. Well, this is your old precinct.
That's my old precinct.
But apparently, there's some money available down there. But can you get that organization to the point where it is running like, for example, the city water department, where they have a good billing, they have good collections, they cut people off if they don't pay, that kind of thing. So that's something to look at. How can we fix that? There's a priority that could probably be created there, and I think they'll probably be talking about that in the next couple of commissioners' court. So,
Okay.
Story tip, news tip.
There we go. Well, and the county is evolving, and this change on the commissioner's court with the county judge in particular is going to change the personality of the court, and it's going to change the personality of the relationships in the county, because we don't have a commissioner in waiting.
Right.
Traditionally, we've had, commissioners judges step up from the commissioner's court or from another elected official, elected office in the county. So this one, this is wide open, and voters really have a critical choice to make. The criminal justice system is the biggest part of what county governments do, and we've had two major changes that just kind of slide under the radar because they're not real flashy. The first is that the county judge and the commissioners, along with the state of Texas, have come together with the district judges and local attorneys and created a public defender's office. And that's I was talking to Steve Floyd Judge Floyd on Tuesday, and he is very confident that change in that process will save money down the road. So you've got what went from private attorneys to basically employees of the county, still attorneys working in a public defender's office. And then this Tuesday, we were introduced to Tommy LaFawn, who is the new magistrate judge. And that's a state grant funded program that allows for a lot of efficiency in that backlogged criminal docket. He will function as a criminal magistrate for all of the courts, from the JP courts all the way to the district courts. So he'll do misdemeanor and felony work, but he'll do a lot of that work on the front end of the criminal justice system, to plea hearings in particular, that will help get people off the docket. And what that will do is hopefully alleviate some of the pressure on the jail and the docket itself. So you're going to have the next judge will have a whole new set of issues to balance. You've got a whole new department. Well, you have two new departments, and they're not even sure where Tommy LaFawn's court is going to be. He's going to be somewhere in the courthouse.
We can put him in the old jail.
Oh.
How's that? I'm just kidding. Anyway.
But there's got to be space for his court to operate. So there's a list of issues coming down the pike. As far as the criminal justice system goes. And Tuesday, I believe, this coming Tuesday, the candidates for office and elected officials in Tom Greene County having the opportunity to go tour the new jail. We haven't even had that opportunity yet, but you'll get to go see the new jail. When we talk about the criminal justice system, what do you see as the challenges facing the county?
Well, the big picture on the criminal justice system is no one in San Angelo or Tom Greene County wants to have broken windows in their neighborhood. So we start with that. That's your mission, no broken windows.
Okay.
And meaning, you don't want to have your laptop stolen out of your pickup truck. And I know you got a brand new pickup truck, so they could break the glass. I mean, it'd be a big pain to have to go get that, clear the insurance and stuff. I mean, there's nothing that makes people more mad and more violated than to have something like that happen to them. Well, the jail is kind of like that central organism that kind of keeps that criminal justice system going, so that the police officers and the sheriff's office and DPS and the rangers and all those people, they can manage our criminal justice issues we're going to have here. And we're always going to have criminal justice issues.
Right.
So when the jail gets overcrowded, that becomes a crisis. Because if I'm a cop and I got to take a guy down to the jail that has, it's built for 552.
Yeah.
They can probably expand it if they hired about 20 more people, if they want to commit to that additional payroll. But if it's overcrowded, there might be some kind of, well, maybe I shouldn't take this guy down today. Another thing with the jail is it empties as the docket moves. So the court dockets, the 4 district courts and the county court at laws, they got to be moving, that stuff. And COVID shut it down. It's not anyone's fault. It's COVID. And plus these ridiculous COVID restrictions coming out of the Supreme Court through the Office of Court Administration, make them have, have you been in the courtrooms with the masks and the social distancing and all that kind of stuff? And of course, we finally have a murder trial of one of the 3 inmates that's been in our jail for 3 years. That murder trial is going on right now.
Yep.
Right. We have someone down there covering it. So that's good. All this stuff is starting to get unclogged. Along the way, we're adding on burdens that we're kind of kicking down the road, meaning this public magistrate office, that has no funding attached to it coming from the state. And some people say, well, that's an unfunded mandate. However, it comes with some advantages. For example, there's a court reporter. Now we got another court reporter, which is a good thing. So we have some more capacity with the magistrate's office. The public defender, it's regional public defender office, right? Mm-hmm. So we're gonna pull in Schleicher County, Reynolds County, Erie County, Sterling County into this, and Coke County. And I might get the counties all messed up. You never can remember. Some courts have some counties and some don't. Anyway,
right.
So anyway, we're pulling in other counties around that, around our public defender office. Which, if you ask Steve Floyd 4 years ago, you're going to be the county judge, and they're going to build this $3 million bureaucracy, additional bureaucracy in the county. Do you think you'd go for that? And he'd say, heck no.
That's right. Yeah.
But one of the things that we got to look at is the realities of the national politics and how they're impacting our criminal justice system. And we have to find things that we can use to leverage to be able to get over that. And that's what getting the outside funding for that public defender's office was a stroke of genius. And anyway, so what happened is back in 1995, I would say it's not the 90s anymore, about 10%, less than 10% of our criminal docket had an appointed attorney.
Right.
Right. And as Democrats took over in Washington, they started defining what is poverty up as far as money. Mm-hmm. So now 87% of our criminal docket has a court-appointed attorney that the taxpayers have to pay for.
That's right. The taxpayers pay for those court-appointed attorneys now.
Right.
And we'll be getting some help from the state with the public defender's office.
Right. So, and we got help from the state on the appointing the attorneys, but so now they're saying, all right, here's a new concept. Let's do a public defender's office. And oh, by the way, San Angelo, I think we're like the number 6 one, but the first one's a regional, multi-county public defender's office. And we're actually getting money from other counties to help pay for it.
Right.
That kind of thing. I think it's a smart idea just because of that reality. Mm-hmm. We have so many on the docket that have an appointed attorney. That thing was going to bust our budget.
Yep. And
so now, instead of having that gigantic hickey on our budget, paying for all these attorneys, we're going to get, I guess, 67% of it reimbursed by the state. So we're basically paying 33%. The first year is what, 80% of it's going to be?
Yeah, the first is 80%.
Yeah. So now the question is, what happens when the grant runs out? Now you're stuck mm-hmm. with a $3 million liability. And guess how much you got to raise the taxes? So you got to raise the taxes significantly to pay for $3 million annual liability. And I'm talking, you could get into city of San Angelo tax rate levels to get there, So we got to make sure that we collect the data that they need. Mm-hmm. We need to make sure that the court system, basically says, hey, here's how it's working. It's working well. We need to make sure that data comes in, because I think we're safe for 5 years. Right. But at the end of that 5 years, and that, of course, that'll be that'd be about the time we have another election for judge. So whoever gets in here, I hope it's me, will have to make sure that we're keeping the right data. We're promoting this thing within the state, up in Austin, saying we got to keep this. We need to keep this grant going. Otherwise, we're in for hurt. So the magistrate, I'm neutral on that. Some people say that's like an unfunded mandate. But in reality, I think if you put yourselves in like Drew Darby's shoes, who has to approve adding a magistrate to our county or to our district courts, if he had that attached with funding, then the state of Texas would probably have to appoint 25 of them in Harris County with
right.
funding too.
Yeah.
So you got to understand that. So he gave us a tool to use, and we decided, the current court decided to use it. Let's use it. Let's make sure we can get driving that docket down, so we get less than 1,500 cases. We should be down to 400 or so outstanding indictments, and let's empty the jail out. And then once we empty the jail out, when I say empty the jail out, let's get it to a lower capacity, and let's have enough beds available that we can outsource some of McCullough County's inmates into San Angelo, and we can actually make some money off the jail.
Yeah, and I think that was part of the thought process when the new jail was developed and built, was to have enough space mm-hmm. so that you could offer that service to the surrounding counties.
Yeah, let's make it a sustainable asset.
Right.
That's what I want to see.
Right. There are probably as many questions and issues as there are hours in a day that we could talk about as far as the county goes. But our segment is coming down to the last question or two, and this is where I get to shut up. And this is where you get to tell the voters, and this is the largest audience you talk to. You know that. And you get to look them in the eye and say, I'm Joe Hyde, this is why I want you to vote for me. There are other guys out there, but I want your vote because of this. It's open mic, no questions, no holds barred. This is Joe Hyde, what do you want the voters to know?
Okay. So my name is Joe Hyde, and the reason I'm running for judge is because over the past year, I've seen the county judges across Texas. I mean, I've covered the news down the valley. I've covered the news in Del Rio. And here, a lot here. And I feel like you got to have a guy in this seat, in the county judge seat, who's tough enough and smart enough and has enough nerve to get what you need done. And that means we want to keep our businesses open. We don't want to have any of these mandates. And of course, there's not a whole lot I can do about a federal mandate as a county judge, but I can fight against them like crazy. I need a mandate to fight against those kinds of mandates. I want to hold the line on taxes, and I want to be a budget hawk. And it's not that I don't want to give raises to people in the county. I mean, I want to protect the institution of the county, and protecting the institution. I understand large bureaucracies. Heck, I've been a part of one for 20 years, so I understand that you're public servants. When you're in that role working at the county, and we need to make sure we give them adequate raises. But at the same time, I don't want to be taking. I want to look at the budget neutral rate, the rate on the tax that would keep the same amount of revenue as the previous year, and I'm going to say, all right, we can lower your tax rate, let's say 3 cents. You give me a penny and a half so I can take care of the county employees and take care of your services, and I'm going to give you the rest as a tax break. So that's how I look at the tax, and that's a really difficult way to. I mean, you can't go out there and say that in a 4-word slogan, so it's hard to say.
Right.
But that's a big thing. I will work with the county commissioners to do that. And I think most of the county commissioners, even the ones running, would go along with an idea, a plan like that. And also, let's set some missions for the county to accomplish. Let's do some cool things with it. There's all kinds of problems that we can solve. I mentioned the Cristobal water system. We got the Mineral Wells Crossing. Now, of course, those are all Precinct 4 issues. Up in Wall, they're always complaining about roads washing out, things like that. So there's a lot of things that we can just set a mission around and try to fix. And of course, the criminal justice system is the most important thing. We want to keep that thing. We want to make that thing run like a top. And I'll tell you what, the best economic development tool that anyone has is low crime.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
If you have crime, it can kill whatever you're doing for economic development. So I'll be supporting the criminal justice system. And then last, the county judge seat. If you have someone in there who can use it as a bully pulpit, there's some things that you need to get accomplished, like in Austin, going to Austin and testifying from those committees and things like that, because in Austin, they're going to create all kinds of crazy legislation that is good for the urban places, urban counties, but really bad for us.
Yep.
So we got to watch that, and we got to make sure when there's something coming up that we go in there and we work with other counties and we be a strong spokesman to not allow those kinds of things that will impact our county. Didn't hurt us. So last line of defense, I want you to vote for someone who's tough, who's smart, and who has the nerve to do it, and that's Joe Hyde.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Joe Hyde.
Thank you.
We have been here at the political desk. The election is March 1st of 2022. It's the Republican primary here in Tom Green County. Tom Green County Judge is one of the local offices, that is contested. We have 4 contested races. I'll be visiting with all of the candidates who want to visit with us. Early voting will be the last 2 weeks in February. In the meantime, there is a surprise municipal election in the city of San Angelo that will be occurring at the same time. So don't get confused if you go January 29th and you don't see a candidate's name on the ballot, because that's just for single member District 5 in the city council. This race again for county judge is March 1st, 2022. The winner of that, if there is a runoff, that runoff will be in May 24th. of 2022, and then the general election between a Democrat and a Republican, the party nominees, would be November 1st. November 1st is the general election, 2022, and the winners of the general election will be installed in office on January 1st of 2023. So that's where we are in the process. A couple more months before the March primary, and we'll again talk to as many candidates as we can. Thank you, Joe, for being here.
Thank you.
And for San Angelo Live, I'm Yantis Green.